ever feel like just giving up, like hitting that wall and you just can't any further? I think we all have. Well, today we're diving into a talk all about finding that push to just keep going even when things get really, really tough. We're looking at just keep going with faith. It's by Elder Carl B. Cook from April 2023 General Conference.
And even though it's from a religious perspective, that message, it really connects with everyone in a way.
It really does. And Elder Cook starts out with a pretty intense story about Joseph Smith,
Oh, yeah.
the founder of the Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
Imagine being told to never, ever give up, even if you were buried under a mountain.
Wow.
That's some serious motivation right there.
Yeah, a little dramatic, but you got to admit, it gets the point across.
For sure. And he uses a lot of these really vivid examples, like the story of Zoram from the Book of Mormon, to kind of show how keeping the faith and persevering when it's hard can lead to some pretty amazing and unexpected blessings.
It's a great story.
So tell me about Zoram. Who is this guy?
So picture this. You're Zoram, just an average guy, serving Laban. Yeah.
Who's this powerful figure in the Book of Mormon.
Right.
When Nephi, another big name, gets his hands on these sacred records, we're talking about the brass plates.
Okay.
Zoram's slapped with this huge choice. Play it safe, stay with Laban, but risk his neck if they're caught with these plates, or take a leave of faith with Nephi into, well, basically nowhere.
Wow. That is a serious decision.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. The fear, the uncertainty.
It's out of trust.
Yeah, that's a level of trust and belief.
It's huge. And that's exactly what Elder Cook wants us to get.
Okay.
You see, Zoram, he's human, right? His first thought, get me out of here. Totally normal. But then Nephi, he turns things around.
Ow.
He makes Zoram a promise, a covenant even. Freedom, belonging if he just comes along.
So he goes with Nephi.
He does.
But it wasn't all easy from there, I'm guessing.
Not exactly. Even with faith, life, it still throws you curveballs.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't solve everything.
No, it doesn't. And that's where Zoram's story, it gets really interesting.
Okay, so what happens? Elder Cook really highlights this. Zoram never mentions dwelling on the past. No resentment. Doesn't question his choice. He just keeps going. Perseverance. That's his guide. His faith becomes his compass. And eventually, that faithfulness, it leads him to freedom, prosperity, the whole 9 yards in the promised land.
It's not just an old story, though, right? This whole thing, facing a hard choice, having the faith to push through.
Oh, absolutely.
It's something we can all connect with.
Every single one of us. And Elder Cook, he knows this.
Yeah.
He brings it right into the present with this other powerful example. This time, it's about a woman struggling to belong, almost ready to give up on her faith community entirely.
Oh, I remember this story. She's literally about to drive away from church, feeling totally defeated, and then something stops her.
Like a movie, right? Tears, car, ready to bolt, and then bam, this wave washes over her. Gotta go back in, gotta hear the speaker.
And thank goodness she did. What are the chances that the message that day would be exactly what she needed?
It's like life sometimes, You're at the end, ready to call it, then boom, lifeline. That message, it reminded her she was loved, she belonged, that her community needed her. Powerful stuff, no matter what you believe, right?
Absolutely. It's like the universe, or maybe just life, has these little nudges in the right direction, even when you're totally lost.
Right.
But we got to be open to them, don't we?
Exactly. And sometimes that nudge, it's a challenge, something that makes you dig deep, find the strength you didn't know was there.
I like that.
And that's what Elder Cook shows us beautifully with his own story about feeling way in over his head when he was called to be in Area 70.
Okay, for those of us who aren't familiar, break that down for me. What's an Area 70? Why is that such a big deal?
It's a leadership role, like being asked to lead a whole region, tons of congregations.
Well, that's a lot.
Imagine that responsibility, especially for someone still new to that level of leadership.
Right, that's a lot of pressure to get it right.
And to make it even more intense, his first assignment, speak at state conference. That's a big regional gathering.
Okay.
With President Boyd K. Packer, highly respected leader. Talk about trial by fire.
Whoa, I would be so nervous. So what happened? How did he handle that?
Well, Elder Cook says President Packer, he could tell, right? So he shares some really wise advice. But focus on now. Trust in the Spirit. The words will come. Let go of the struggle. Let something bigger work through you.
Surrender to something bigger. Let faith lead you through. Did it work? Did the words come?
They did. Even when he had to speak way more than planned, he found that strength to keep going. He tapped into that faith, that connection to something beyond him, found resilience, capability he never knew he had, unlocking this hidden strength right when you need it.
It's like that saying, you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have.
It really is.
It makes you think about those times when you've wanted to give up. What if those were the moments where we were actually about to grow the most? It's like those level up moments in a video game. You face this impossible boss, you get knocked down a few times, but you keep getting back up, and then suddenly you're stronger, more powerful.
Exactly. And that's the thing about challenges. They usually look like these giant obstacles,
Right.
but Elder Cook says they're really opportunities to grow.
Hmm.
They make us dig deep, use that inner strength, that resilience.
It makes me think of that Joseph Smith quote Elder Cook shares. Stand fast, ye saints of God. Hold on a little while longer, and the storm of life will be past, and you will be rewarded by that God whose servants you are. It's powerful stuff, even if you're not coming from a religious perspective.
It really is. It just speaks to this universal truth, Challenges, they don't last forever.
Right.
But those rewards, perseverance, keeping the faith, not giving up, those last.
It's about finding that strength to keep going, even when it feels impossible.
Yeah.
But Elder Cook isn't saying we have to do it alone. He talks about the power of faith in Jesus Christ and how they can be a source of strength, especially when we feel weak.
And to be clear, he's not saying we should just suffer through trials because it's noble or something.
Right.
It's about this power beyond ourselves, a strength, a guidance that helps us not just make it through, but actually overcome.
Wow.
To find joy and purpose even when things are hard. It's about believing that things will work out even if we can't see how.
So if there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from all of this, it's that we all have setbacks. It's part of life, right? But it's how we react to them, our willingness to keep going, to rely on that inner strength, that faith in something bigger that decide what happens in the end.
Well said. It makes you wonder, what impossible thing in your own life, what if that's actually the path to your biggest blessing if you don't give up? What amazing change is waiting for you if you just hold on, find that faith, and just keep going?
It's like leveling up,
Totally.
Like when those challenges, they seem impossible, but they made us stronger.
It's that whole idea, right? Obstacles, they're not there to stop us. They're there to show us what we're really capable of.
Exactly. And Elder Cook talks about how often we try to muscle through things on our own strength, but there's a different kind of strength that comes from faith, from believing in something bigger than ourselves.
And that's a game changer, isn't it? It's not about gritting our teeth and just surviving. It's about tapping into something beyond ourselves that allows us to actually thrive, even when things are tough.
It's that trust that things will work out, even when we can't see how.
And that kind of trust, that's where the real growth happens.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway here is that idea of just keep going. Keep the faith, even when it's hard, even when you want to give up.
Because you never know what's waiting on the other side of that struggle.
Exactly. Sometimes those moments when we feel like we're failing, they're actually the moments that are shaping us into who we're meant to be.
And who knows, maybe that challenge you're facing right now, that thing that seems impossible, maybe that's the very thing that will unlock your greatest potential if you just keep going.
So keep the faith, trust the process, and whatever you do, don't give up.
Couldn't have said it better myself.